Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. It is a beautiful Thursday morning, September 29th, 2022. We're nearly to the end of September, and we have a great topic today. Now, we do get together most weekday mornings at this time to talk with our distribution partners, to discuss strategies, tips, techniques, success stories, and to be a resource to support each of you. Earlier this week, we had been highlighting the Express Business Startup Package, which is on the left-hand side of the screen. There's a number of benefits, which I'll briefly review, but a number of you were very interested, intrigued, wanted to know more information about the Chapman Fund. And so that's on the right-hand side. This isn't our website, this is their website, and we're going to go through that momentarily. All right, so the Express Business Startup Package is a great resource for businesses that are at the very earliest stage. Normally, it would be a resource for those that have not formed their entity yet. So they have an idea, but they have not yet arranged to have a unique commercial address, which we'll come back and talk about. They've not yet filed with the Secretary of State, which we'll come back and talk about, that they've not formed their EIN and have not opened their business bank account, because those are the four things that really establishes a business. And we need to go in that order. Get a unique commercial address, number one, file Secretary of State, number two, get the EIN with the IRS, number three, open a bank account, number four. Now, I do know that we have some clients enrolling in the Express Business Startup Package that are beyond that, but either they don't have a good address, they didn't form the business in the right location, or that they've not kept up with the affairs of that business. So it's easier for them just to hit the reset button and start a brand new business through the Express Business Startup Package. So you'll just want to keep that in mind. There's two groups of people that you and I can help with the Express Business Startup Package. Those that have not formed yet, as I've described, but alternatively, those that have formed a business, but it's not really set up accurately or well for funding. So again, I don't want to dig too deep into this since we've covered it before, but we are providing the basic fundamental elements. It's a grant subsidized program. The pricing is remarkably affordable, right? It's under $250. However, you as a white label partner can mark that up as much as you want. We've provided each of you this flyer. You can edit it and you can set the pricing as you want. You could charge them, put $1,000 on top of it. So now you're charging the participant $1,249.99. You keep all of the markup. And if I recall, that's what Alfred's doing. Some of you are just taking it out to the marketplace at the normal price, just kind of as a pass through, a loss leader, if you will, just to attract clients and then turn around and get them on the access to capital, whereby you'll make the performance fee and the deposit. Others are literally giving this away to be able to induce new clients. But regardless of the pricing, the startup package we've talked about before. Hopefully you're familiar with it. And if not, you can go back and hear the full training. Our focus today is talking about the Chapman Fund. So again, I think we have to step back. What is it that you and I do? We're technical advisors and we help small business owners do three things. Number one, improve their business financial literacy. Number two, help them assemble a lender compliant loan package. And number three, we help them become credible enough on paper to get access to funding. Normally, when we talk about credibility, we talk about the three C's: credit, collateral, cash flow. Do you have to have all three C's? No, different lenders have their own underwriting criteria, but credit, whether it be personal or business. Collateral are those assets that we're willing to pledge to the lender in case of default, so that mitigates their risk. And then capacity, also known as cash flow, is demonstrating our ability to repay the debt. Now, the truth be known, there's more than 3 C's. There's actually 5 C's. Character is another one. But another important element is having a commercial address. Where that commercial address is makes a difference. Maybe that's obvious to you, maybe it's not. So, for instance, there's a handful of states in the United States that do not charge corporate income tax. So do you think that it might be smart to consider putting a new business in a state that doesn't charge corporate income tax? Not because we're trying to cheat the system or beat the system, but simply the tax rules vary by state. And in Texas, for example, and a handful of others, there are no state corporate income taxes. That can save a business a lot of money. In addition to taxation, another consideration of where a business is formed is what type of financial incentives are available. So let me digress for a moment, give you an example and on a personal level, and then we'll dig into the Chapman program. There are different cities across the country, and you might have read this in the Wall Street Journal recently. There are different cities across the country that will pay people to move to that city. Tulsa, Oklahoma comes to mind. And if I recall correctly, if you want to move to Tulsa, Oklahoma, they'll pay you, it was either $9,000 or $10,000, I forget, something like that, around $10,000 to move to Tulsa, Oklahoma, because they're trying to attract more professionals like yourselves. And so if you're flexible in where you want to live, you're ready for a change, Tulsa might be a good place to go because they literally have a tax-based financial incentive to encourage you to move to Tulsa. There's other cities as well that do that, but Tulsa is the one that I recall. Well, let's look on the business side, which is really more consistent with what you and I do. Are there some areas that have tax-based incentives to encourage the formation of new businesses? There are. And the Chapman Fund is an example of that. And so when we talk over here in the Express Business Startup Package is that we're setting up businesses. You and I can help start businesses and give them a number of advantages. Of course, they have a unique commercial address, which is far superior to using a post office box, a shared commercial address, or a residential address. Also, we're going to help them set up a business in a state that has no corporate income tax. And now we're helping them save money for years to come. But also it makes a difference in terms of how you can get funding. So the Chapman Fund, and again, I'm on their website here, East Texas Regional Development Center. So this is not something that I made up or making up. Here's their phone number, but we'll go through this. But this is the Chapman Loan Program that we've talked about. So let's just read off their website so that way there's no confusion or potential misrepresentation. So the Chapman Loan Program began as a grant from the federal government, creating a revolving loan fund for East Texas. The grant was made possible by the hard work of Congressman Jim Chapman. Provides long-term financing to eligible businesses. Loan proceeds can be used for fixed assets, new construction, renovations, leased property, equipment, inventory, and working capital, and can even be used to provide equity injection. So this is a very broad and inclusive list, right? These funds can be used for just about anything. Now, what we do have to keep in mind that it's not all perfect. So there's good and bad for just about everything in life, right? So the good of the Chapman Fund is it's not bank financing. You don't have to jump through the hoops. You don't have to qualify for bank financing to get it. That's a good thing. What are two of the bad things that come to mind, or at least important considerations? Number one, it's geographic specific. And if you click on this tab here, you'll see it's for a specific region. Well, guess what? When we're setting up these commercial addresses for clients, we're setting it up in the Chapman Fund region. So it's not a problem. You and I are not constrained by that. But if someone's in New Jersey and they say, hey, I just want the Chapman Fund, it's not going to work because it's from a taxing authority, and the taxing authority is only going to fund the startup of businesses in their taxing district, which again, very clearly is listed right here. So if you're not in one of these counties in Texas, then you can't qualify for the Chapman Fund. What you and I are doing, though, is helping start businesses in that geographic area. So that's an important consideration, but it's not a barrier, right? We just talked about that. The other downside or constraint, and we've asked for exceptions and we've never been successful, is they will only loan up to $250,000. That's the max that they'll go. And so if you have a client that needs more than $250,000, we can stack. It's very common, very, very, very common to use the Chapman Fund in addition to other funding programs like SBA. And in fact, I don't know that if you can infer that or not, but I'm going to explain this last sentence. So for example, if you and I wanted to help a client get a large SBA loan, is the SBA going to loan 100% of quote unquote the project cost, or are they going to expect the borrower to contribute some? It's the latter. They're going to expect the borrower to contribute some. This can be that resource. That's what this sentence means. And I know it's not necessarily clear. When it talks about providing equity injection, it can provide the portion that the borrower needs to bring to the table to get the larger loan amount from another lending institution. That is incredible, the way that that's positioned. So again, a lot of good things about the Chapman Loan Program. Everyone that's using the Express Startup will be in that right geographical area. But it's important to know, and we don't want to ever misrepresent, the max that the Chapman will do is $250,000. So if the client needs more than that, we'll have to stack loan programs, which is permissible, as I alluded to. All right, so what I want to do is start answering your questions, because it shouldn't be that difficult. You know, I wanted to peel the layer back a little bit more and help you understand it more, but this is not your burden. What you want to do is bring clients in to the Express Business Startup Package, which we've had a separate training on, but I'll just review it very briefly. We'll take care of this back end. This is not a burden for you. But you know, how do you bring a client on to the Express Business Startup Package? You have this flyer. You should have this flyer. We've emailed it to you. And if you don't have it, we can go drop it into your white label Dropbox. What you want to do is make two changes to it. Change the price to whatever you want the price to be, and change the call to action to whatever call to action. If you want them to go to your landing page, you had Scott set up. If you want them to call you, to email you, whatever. But those are two changes that you would want to make to this flyer. The pricing to match your preferred pricing, whatever you mark it up as, you keep 100% of that, and the call to action. So then you spread the word. That's what you all are experts at. You all are just fucking amazing at getting the word out. That's what your role is, right? You're almost like a community liaison, spreading the word about helping small businesses access capital. So you spread the word, you find clients that want to participate in the program. We're talking about the Express Business Startup Package. You collect from them whatever you want to collect from them. And frankly, it could be more than $249. It could be $249. It could be less than $249. It is up to you. You're going to charge whatever your pricing is. So once you've collected that from them, then you're going to go ahead and forward us our portion, which is specifically the $249. That's why I said anything above that, you keep. You send that over to us. Just contact us at support, which you know how to reach support. Give us the person's name and email, and then we'll be off and running with them with the Express Startup Package. There's no additional cost. There's not even a contract that they need to sign. This describes what they're getting. So there's not like some terms and conditions they have to read through and worry about the details. This is it. Now, many of you will also want to help the clients with the access to capital. That's very common. It's not required. I'm not saying it's required, But it would make sense if you use this as your door opener in the marketplace. Get them signed up for this. How do you get them signed up? Essentially, you collect whatever money you want from them. You keep your portion, you forward us our portion. Then we'll do what we said that we'll do. We'll provide them a unique business address. We'll help get them filed with Secretary of State. We just did another batch this morning. Tamika, I don't know if you're online or not. We just formed Tamika's new business, a number of new businesses. So every day we're filing with the Secretary of State, filing new businesses. Once the filing is accepted with the Secretary of State, then we notify the client, then the EIN comes next. And then we can proceed with the Chapman Fund if the client would like. So if you want to use this as a door opener and then pivot them over to access to capital, you're welcome to do that. And of course, as a white label partner with access to capital, then you're making on average around $12,500 more, but that's your choice. These folks don't have to enroll in access to capital to get what's mentioned on this page. We make a reference to the access to capital program, but that's between you and them. If you want to invite them to the access to capital program, which is the 100,000 guarantee, no upfront cost. All right, so we need to dig into your questions. What is it that you need to know? Most importantly, do you understand the process? All right, so Alfred has a question. Okay, so different sources of capital have different underwriting criteria. Some sources of capital require that the borrower contribute towards the capital raise, and you could call it a down payment. I don't think that's accurate because you're not buying something, but again, a traditional loan, and it makes reference here. So what they say is that they'll fund 90% of the project, quote unquote, and so they're expecting the borrower to bring the other 10%. So let's say if you needed, we'll just use 100,000 as a simple number. ETRDC through the Chapman Fund would loan 90,000, but they're expecting the borrower to bring the other 10%, 10,000. Now we can go secure that through another source of capital. That's what we call stacking. It's legal and appropriate, but Alfred read correctly. So the Chapman Fund will only loan 90%. Now, what some of you have done is you know, this isn't rocket science. Let's say I really need 100,000. And if I go apply for 100,000, they're only going to give me 90,000. Well, that's not enough. Well, could you ask for 110,000? And what's 90% of 110,000? It's approximately 100,000. So what's the point? You could always gross up or increase the amount of the loan request. There's a few of you, and I think Bruce is one, but I don't remember specifically, that you've got this figured out. So you figure out what the client wants. Let's say the client wants, and we're going to ignore all this in the screen for a moment. Let's say the client wants $1 million. And let's say Bruce is charging a 15% performance fee. So the client says, well, yeah, get me $1 million. I'll gladly pay you 15%. But wait, then I'd be paying you 150,000, Bruce. I would only have 850,000 left. That's not enough. What does Bruce say? What would any of you say? Well, let's go after 1.2 million then. That way you've got enough to pay me and all the money that you need. So it's just simple math. You can always gross up or increase the loan request to be able to absorb your fees. And that's why some of you are doing so damn well. Bruce, how many new clients do you think that you're going to enroll today on the day of this recording, September 29th? Bruce, if you don't mind putting in the Q&A like chat, we'll see what he says. But some of you are just knocking it out of the hitting the ball out of the park in terms of enrolling 3, 5, 7 clients a day, and you overcome the performance fee barrier like Bruce does to say, hey, don't worry, we'll build it in. We'll increase the amount of loan that you're looking for and build it in. Jeremy's bringing on 5 today. So Bruce didn't answer yet, but Jeremy said 5. So you can see the point is if the objection from the client is, hey, you're charging me a 15% performance fee, you're like, hey, we'll build it in. Let's gross up the loan request. Hopefully that makes sense. So Bruce responded 4 today. All right, so is the Chapman loan program for everyone? No. Is it very helpful for many? Yes. Is it a great icing on the cake on the Express Business Startup Package? Yes. All right, so then Timothy's asking about the manager of the program. So let's go over to the about. And so the regional lending manager is Chuck. Chuck is an outstanding gentleman. I know Chuck very well. I've spent endless hours in meetings and working on projects with him. I've taken him and his wife and his 2 sons to the country club. We've had the chance to spend time in a social environment. Chuck and I have gone out and have done workshops together for small businesses. Chuck has brought me into numerous chambers of commerce to be able to help their members through our programming. So Mr. Vanderbilt is an incredibly credible and good man. And so chances are your clients will be working with Chuck as they go through the Chapman loan program. All right, so that answered that. We've covered, okay, so Andre is asking about location. So that's right. So since what we're doing with the Express Business Startup Package, Andrea, is we're providing a unique business address. And I think maybe this warrants more discussion. You can go get virtual addresses. They're kind of a dime a dozen, right? But what's the problem with it? Is the address a true commercial address, brick and mortar? I'm standing, I have one of those desks that raise and lowers. So right now I'm standing, I'm not sitting at my desk, but I'm standing at my desk talking to you now in the commercial building that these clients will have a suite in. So it's real. I can look out, I see the street, there goes a silver Chevy pickup driving by. So it's a real building, it's a real address. We give each of these participants a unique suite number, so it's not a shared address. When a bunch of businesses have the same suite number, it's not credible. That's what WeWork often does, and Regis, good companies. I don't have anything negative to say about those companies, but the way they make their money is they'll go lease like a floor or part of a floor of a commercial office building, and then everyone gets the same address, and that is not credible. I believe this to be true. Every address in the United States is coded by the United States Postal System. You're not going to fool the system. You're not going to say, oh, I have a post office box, but I'm going to call it Suite 101 and it'll fool everyone. It won't. It's going to come up as a mail center. Or I'm going to use my residential address, my back bedroom, and call that my office. Well, it's zoned as a residential address. No one cares if you work from home, but the official address of the business matters. So what do we have to do? We had to go to the postal general, the local post office, and talk to the person in charge and say, hey, we've got a bunch of suites. What do we need to do to get everything set up so the postal service recognizes that these are unique addresses? So with what Andre is asking about, so we have, well, this sounds too arrogant, so I'll soften it, but we have researched and determined that where businesses are formed makes a significant difference, both in taxation. Texas has no state income tax, and also regarding accessing tax-based incentives. Again, like an individual, you can move to Tulsa, you get your $10,000. Start a new business in the geographic area of the Chapman program, then you can qualify for up to $250,000. Now, I am not saying that there's not other Chapman loan programs elsewhere. I don't know of any, but I certainly wouldn't be so brazen to say that there are no other ones. So it's possible that maybe in Seattle right now or in Detroit, there's a similar program doing something similar. I don't know. I don't know. And there's not a unfortunate, well, maybe it's fortunate for me, but it's unfortunate in general. There's not some database just to go find it. But I do know that we can provide the unique business address in the state with no state income tax, provide the filings to set up, and then they geographically are obviously in the area of the Chapman Fund. Now, it's just fine if you have clients that don't want to do this. It's okay. If they want to form their business in Chicago or Memphis or Kansas City or where that San Diego, it didn't matter. That's fine. You and I are here recognizing we're not going to bring forth a solution that works for everyone. That's too good to be true. But the Express Business Startup is great because the price point is incredible, gives you the complete flexibility to mark it up or mark it down if you want. And it does absolutely, without question, provide the basic foundation that's needed to be able to have a credible business, a unique business, commercial business address, filing with the Secretary of State, get that EIN. So that's needed. No matter, regardless of the Chapman Fund, that's needed. The Chapman Fund is the icing on the cake. But I think the way that many of you are seeing this and using this is it's specifically a great door opener, especially if you're talking to a very early stage entrepreneur, or maybe it could be an existing entrepreneur that has a new project that they're wanting to get funded. Regardless of the Express Business Startup Package, you can always help them with the Access to Capital program. No upfront costs, guaranteed $100,000, and they don't have to be using the startup package to use access to capital. You should know that. You probably do know that. All right, so let's see what other questions that we have. I think we've covered all the questions. And so just in summary, you have, in my opinion, and I hope you would agree, a very strong arrow in your quiver. If you have any early stage businesses or even an entrepreneur that's looking to start a new project, you can leverage this to create a client relationship very easily. The price point is great. And in fact, you control the price point. Anything that you want to mark it up as is 100% your profit. We'll provide this scope of services. And now you're in a great position to be able to get them into the access to capital if you want. Many of your insurance agents, great. Now you've got a client relationship to do a financial needs analysis on. Start talking to them about key person policies. If they have a partner, start talking to them about buy, sell, index universal life policies, annuities, whatever it is. So several of you are accountants. That's great. So now you have the ability to help create new businesses. And guess what? They'll need an annual tax return, and they probably could use your other services. Some of you are in the merchant card processing space. Well, great. Help them start up a new business and then help them get their merchant card processing set up. So many of you have other revenue streams that we'll call business to business that dovetail off of this. I just believe that this should be an important part of your outreach campaign, because as there are millions and millions and millions of small businesses, and pretty much everyone, just about all of them, need more capital, there's an equal or greater amount of people that would love to start a business, but they don't know how. They don't have the resources. They don't have the access to capital, and you have the solution for that. All right, so let me scroll down through here and see if there's anything that I missed. And Collis is bringing up a good point. You do not have to live in Texas to form a business in Texas. A lot of you have seen businesses formed in Wyoming or Nevada, not because they lived in Wyoming or Nevada. A business can be formed in any state. You don't have to live in the state that you form a business. And I apologize. Thank you, Collis, for bringing that up. That maybe wasn't clear to everyone. But right now, any of us could go online and go form a new business in Hawaii if we wanted to. Well, we don't live in Hawaii. We don't have to. The business is in Hawaii. But where you choose to form the business impacts two things. Your taxation. Some states don't tax businesses like Texas doesn't. And also impacts your access to capital, because some geographic areas have specific tax-based programs that are only available in specific geographic areas. But thank you, Collis, for explaining. Yes, some people think, oh, I don't live in Texas. Why would I want to form my business in Texas? But you can look online. There's Wyoming's real popular. A lot of people form their business in Wyoming, not because they pretend to live there, not because they do live there. There's advantages of forming businesses in certain areas. And there's strong advantages to using this program, as I've described. All right, we'll close on this. And Andre asked a good question as far as transferring a business. Transferring a business is a lot of work, and there's a lot of things that could go wrong or at least not go smoothly. So if you run into a business like Andre is mentioning that is formed elsewhere, I'm not an advocate for moving that business. I instead would encourage that entrepreneur to say, okay, keep that business you have in Georgia or Kentucky or Oregon, wherever it is. But let's go ahead and set up a brand new business using the Express Business Startup Package and use it for your capital raise. So they don't have to vacate or abandon their current entity. They could form a new entity, and it's so much easier to plug and play rather than you and I trying to get all the documents and get all the databases cleaned up. So we are not offering this as a transfer. It would only be for newly formed businesses. The cost would go up an incredible amount if we had to do cleanup and transfer. And that's not what you and I want to do. Is we want to keep the price as low as possible for the client. And frankly, and you know our price, anything that you market above that is your profit. So let's put more profit in your pocket instead of them having other expenses. All right, well, very good. Thanks everyone for your time. We'll see you back tomorrow morning, same time, same place. I hope that you'll start promoting the Express Business Startup Package. I would hope that you understand the value proposition stronger, and then you've learned some more about the Chapman Loan Program. Thanks everyone. Have a great day. Bye.